Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K YouTube live video. And I'm just going to take a second to make sure that I am live out here where out on my page, which hopefully I am. I'm refreshing. Yep, looks like the video is there. So just getting things set up so I can see your comments. So, all right. We are ready to go, it looks like. So if you are hopping in and joining for the live today, feel free to say hello. And if you are watching the replay later, that is just awesome too. So today I'm going to show you how I made this card, and it's basically, it's a very simple card, but hey Angela, I'm glad that you're here today. So it's a very simple card, but I had a little trouble stamping the flower image on the background. Hey Patricia, glad you joined today. And I see Pam is here as well. So hello and thanks for joining. So I had a little trouble when I was trying to get this card laid out, getting the background floral image stamped in the right spot, because this die cut is actually, it's almost the size of the entire card front. So I figured out a little trick, and it's one of those things that y'all probably have thought of it already, but I had this like, aha kind of moment for a second when I'm like, I don't know why I'm trying to make this so difficult. So I'll just show you the trick a little bit later as we start stamping, how I put the card together, how I stamped the card, and how I made sure that I got the flower stamped on the background placed in the right spot, because I ruined a lot of cardstock. So anyhow, I'm going to make a very slightly different version of this today. Just change the colors up a little bit, but it's the same design and same way the card goes together, but just figured I'd try to do it in a little different color scheme so that you could see how some of the other colors look together. So that was part of the fun of putting this together, as well as kind of trying to figure out which colors I wanted to use for my flowers. So all right, so hey Barbara, thanks for joining us today. So we are going to be using the Blossoms in Bloom stamp set, which is in the upcoming Stampin' Up 2020 to 2021 annual catalog, which ordering opens up for that on June 3rd. Which I'm really excited about. It's a great, great catalog. So, hey, Susan from Wisconsin, and hey, Karen is here as well. So thanks for joining today, ladies. So, so this is the stamp set we're going to be using today, and it is a photopolymer stamp set, and it's a good one. It's got a coordinating set of dies that go with it. So these are the dies, and they're sold in a bundle together as well as individually. And like I said, this die is kind of huge. I mean, it's like, you know, bigger than my palm is, kind of big, and it's beautiful. But like I said, it was a little tricky on the card front getting everything laid out exactly where I wanted it without hacking up and ruining a whole pile of cardstock. So that is the Stampin' Die set. The other die that I used today is one of the little circles from the Tasteful Labels, I believe is the name of this one. I didn't pull my little cheat sheet out, but I believe it's Tasteful Labels is the name of this die set. And this is also in the upcoming catalog. So all the details will be posted on my blog tomorrow, which is stampwithamyk.com. So if you're not subscribed, feel free to go subscribe to that, and you'll get the details about this card, and as well as links to all the right products and the right product names in the stamp set as well. So let me set that aside. Before we get going, I did want to run through a couple of things from Stampin' Up. The first one is, I know we talked about this briefly in my Facebook Live on, what day did we do that on? Tuesday. And it's the free pick a bundle starter kit promotion from Stampin' Up. So Stampin' Up has got an awesome deal starting on June 3rd and running through June 30th, that anybody who joins and purchases the starter kit as a demonstrator between that time frame gets their starter kit. It's at $99, ships for free, $99 plus tax if that's applicable in your area, ships for free. You get to pick $125 worth of merchandise of your choice in the kit. And then in addition to that, Stampin' Up is going to give you a free stamp set bundle in addition, and it's your choice which bundle you want. It can be any of the stamp and punch bundles or any of the stamp and die set bundles from the catalog that is starting on next week, Wednesday. So it's an awesome deal. So if you were interested in that, we would love to have you join the team. Lots of benefits of being a demonstrator. You get at least a 20% discount on all your orders. There's no push to sell to anyone, so you can do whatever you want with your demonstratorship. If you want to do the business side, we'd love to have you join us and do that. And if you'd prefer just to join and order for yourself, that is awesome too. So let me know if you have questions on that. So I'm going to set that one aside. And then the next awesome deal that Stampin' Up has is they are doing a little bonus. Hey Jerry, I'm glad you're here. So Well, thank you, Karen. I love having y'all. I don't know, glad you guys are here. So, so the next deal that Stampin' Up has is they are going to be doing some extra Stampin' Rewards when you purchase $250 or more in an order, or have a workshop or party of $250 or more. You're going to get 25 additional host cash to spend, so, or Stampin' Rewards to spend. So that's an awesome, awesome deal too. So normally with a $250 order, you get $25 in Stampin' Rewards with a $250 order. You are going to get $50 in Stampin' Rewards starting on the 3rd of June, and that will run through the end of June as well. So great time to buy, great time to join, awesome time all the way around. So let me know if you have questions on this. If you're interested in setting up a catalog party or something like that, I'd be happy to do that for you. Just drop me an email at amy@stampwithamyk.com and we can get going, get your party set up and all that. So again, I think that's all. So just let me know if you have questions on any of that stuff, and we will get going on the card. So I went ahead and pre-cut, as I usually try to do, pre-cut some of the pieces. I used the new Magenta Madness, which I want to call it Magenta Midnight, and I know that's not right because I'm mushing two names together, but Magenta Madness. Of course, I got a little hanging chad there. Magenta Madness cardstock, and I cut it with the die that coordinates with the Blossoms in Bloom stamp set, and then this one is just cut from Whisper White cardstock. And again, so you didn't have to sit and watch me do all that. All I'm going to do is just adhere the two pieces together with a little bit of liquid glue kind of here and there. You don't need to have tons of glue. If you do put tons of glue on it, you're probably going to end up with a big gluey mess. Not that I have done that before, but yes, I have. So I just try to use little dabs of glue, particularly on the spots where it's a little bit wider, like on some of the leaves and, the flower centers and that sort of thing. There generally tends to be a little bit more space where you can put a little bit of glue, and you don't need tons and tons of it because there are going to be some adhesives that are going to go over the top of this. You basically just need to make sure that it is stuck together. So let me go ahead and flip this over and hopefully stick them together and not to my fingers, which sometimes I do. Just line them up. And again, this part is not very tricky. They line up pretty perfectly. And just kind of mush them down, smash them together, make sure, as I say, they line up pretty perfectly. Then I get a spot down here where I don't have it lined up pretty perfectly. But the pieces kind of wiggle around a little bit, so it's a thin and kind of delicate. No, delicate's probably not the right term because they're not really like going to rip apart type die cuts, but they're easy to move around. So if you have one down there like I did where it's just a little bit off, you can just move it around and it sticks together perfectly. So we've got our two pieces stuck together. Let me set my glue over here out of the way, so hopefully I don't make a big mess with that. Then what I'm going to do is show you the part where I figured out how to place this on the card front. And again, you guys are probably all looking at it and going, well, duh, Amy. What I had originally been doing is I started by stamping it on the card front. I thought I had the stamp set in the right spot, would stamp it down, would lay my die cut on the top, and then it would be like that where it's hanging off the side of the card, which was not the look that I wanted to go for. Or I had it like that or whatever. So what I finally realized is that if I actually place the die cut on the card front where I want it, and then get out my stamparatus and my stamp, and sure I can get the stamp off of this, and lay the stamp over the top of my die cut, line everything up, make sure it's in the spot where I want it to be on the card front. Hopefully, she says. Let me get this out of the way. And I see I just banged into it again, so I'm going to have to move it one more time. And then I'm going to use my stamparatus to actually stamp the image, because then I know it's going to be placed exactly where I want it to be. So, like I said, I had this like, hello, Amy moment after I ruined a whole pile of cardstock trying to get it stamped in the exact spot I wanted. I realized that I could just place everything on the card where I wanted it to be and then put it in my stamparatus. And obviously it's going to stick together, but that's okay. You just take the little die cut out. And then we're going to use some Sahara sand ink. I know, well, like I said, I know, Angela, I had that same moment where I'm like, how did I not think of this until now? I swear I probably messed up 10 pieces of cardstock before I realized that, hello, Amy, if you just put the pieces together and then stamp it, it'll work that way just perfectly. So yeah, it was a little quick tip, and that was kind of the main thing that I wanted to show you. Not that this card is anything complex or difficult to put together, but that was the main thing I wanted you to see out of it. It was how to do the stamping on this. Now, hopefully I've done everything in the right spots. I see I need to smoosh down a little bit harder here because I was talking and not paying attention. But a couple of the spots didn't stamp as well as they could have. Okay, so we've got our image on the card front, and if I have done everything correctly and lined it up the right way, we should be able to take the die cut that I've got done and lay it right over the top and glue it down, and we'll have it in the right spot. So I'm going to go ahead and do that while we are here chatting today, and glue a couple little other pieces in with it. The die cut that I'm doing right now is much easier to glue down just because it's got a lot bigger spaces where you can add your glue in, so you don't have to be quite so concerned about it getting all globby and gooey, but that'll work. So hey Kay, I'm glad that you're here from North Carolina. Hopefully you saw the little tip that I just showed you on how to line up the image. If not, make sure you go take a peek at the video because it's, you know, it's super simple to do, but just one of those things that I didn't think about when I initially started stamping with this set. So let me get my fingers in a spot that makes sense here to try to lay this back down. And then we're just going to lay it back over. Glue it down to the card front, and I got to hold it here for 1 second while the glue sort of sets up. And then I used, did I say that it was a Sahara Sand card base? I don't know if I said that or not, but Sahara Sand card base, Sahara Sand ink for this image. And then I did a whole bunch of these little die cut pieces already done ahead of time. So again, you didn't have to sit and watch me die cut and pick all these little pieces out because you'd have gone crazy doing that. So this is Granny Apple Green, and all that I did was I used the more intricate die cut, the one that's on the top, and I actually just cut it out with Granny Apple Green cardstock, or cut Granny Apple Green cardstock, I should say, with the die cut, and just took the kind of negative pieces for the leaves. And I didn't even do all the leaves. I just did kind of the bigger, more, I don't know, more open leaves, I guess is what I'll call them. Whoop, and that one is a messed up die cut. That's not the one I wanted to grab. Well, maybe it is the one I wanted to grab. Did I do this wrong? Anyway, but all right, so I think that's the one I wanted. Hopefully I didn't use the wrong one here, which I might have, because it looks like a chunk of it. Oh, a little chunk of it might be missing, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead with it because it is what it is. So, all right, so we've got another little one we're going to glue in over here. Just putting the little puzzle pieces back together, and hopefully I can get these all stuck in the right spots the first time and not have to re-glue them all. But as I'm doing this, I figured I would also, you like it with just the dies? It is really pretty with just the dies, but you know, I like the stamping under it was making me crazy, and I'm like, there has to be an easy way to do this. And I finally figured it out, so I was glad, you know, glad to share a little tip with you on it. So while I am doing this, I also wanted to remind you that I'm doing paper shares, designer series paper shares from the new catalog. I will be closing those out on Tuesday, so the details are posted out on my blog, which is stampwithamyk.com. So if you have not checked out my paper shares and want to join, make sure you get that done. I'll be closing them out Tuesday and ordering the paper on Wednesday just as early as I can. And I'll be cutting it up and sending it back out. So, all right, so that is the background of the card all done. Again, like I said, super simple. And then I'm going to use a little bit of the Whisper White, and this is the polka dot tulle ribbon. I'm just going to make a little sort of Z across the card front here, hopefully, and snip it off if I can get it measured out right. So hopefully y'all are having a good, whoop, I just banged into my light, which I then also banged into my phone, so sorry. I've got a little shake of the camera there. So going to do a little bit of snail adhesive here so I can stick down the ribbon, hopefully. I may need to add a little more snail on depending on how I end up placing this on here. But I think we'll get it mostly put down with this set that I did already. And again, no special way, no special measurement, no special placement on this. Just kind of wanted to get a little bit of the pretty ribbon behind the sentiment on the card front. going to set this aside for 1 second and do a little bit of stamping on the sentiment itself. I used the Thinking of You sentiment from the Blossoms and Bloom stamp set, which is where the background came from. And we're stamping it in Sahara Sand ink on a little die cut on Whisper White cardstock that I cut with the Tasteful Labels die, which is in the new catalog as well. Well, I'm glad that you like it, Patricia. I appreciate that. So it's just, like I said, it's super easy to put together, and you know, lots of different color schemes that you can do. I totally changed this one from the original color scheme that I had. So that's the fun thing with this stamp set, is that you can kind of pick out whatever colors. I tried a whole bunch of different ones and kind of, I don't know, I just kept putting things together till I found a couple that I was happy with, and went ahead with those. So I'm going to use a couple Stampin' Dimensionals to adhere down the sentiment. And we're just going to go right over the top of the ribbon. And like I said, we've got some adhesives that I am putting over the top of the die cuts here. And I'm going to smoosh these down well so that they kind of go through the ribbon. And I'm going to trim off this little extra tail here as well a little bit. So it's holding the ribbon and the die cut down, so you don't have to worry about having tons and tons of adhesive on that die cut, because it's pretty well going to stay in place as it is. The last thing that I wanted to add, do you cut out the whole image in green and get the leaves? Okay, well, you can. Or if you're cheap like me and want to conserve cardstock, I just took some scraps that I had, and then I placed the die so that, well, let me grab the die and I'll show you. So it's not obviously cardstock, but I was just going to show you for demonstration purposes. So I needed to make sure that I had this piece cut out of the Granny Apple Green. So what I did was I took it, placed it like this, ran it through my Big Shot or my die cutting machine. Same thing with this one. Same thing, you know, just turned it, put a little scrap of paper under it and ran it through that way. You can, but it's gonna, you know, obviously use up a whole piece of the Granny Apple Green cardstock, which if you want to save that and do the flower in Granny Apple Green background at some point, you can certainly do that. But I was just, you know, being cheap and conserving my cardstock. So I just took scraps and cut along the edges. So that's how I ended up getting the leaves cut out of it. So hopefully that answers, and hopefully, I'm cheap, or I'm frugal, not cheap. That's right. I just call it cheap. So last little thing I'm going to add on the card front is a couple of the enamel dots from the 2020 to 2022 in colors. And I'm just going to add a couple of them around the sentiment here. So no specific placement on that. So hey, Karen from Scotland, how cool. And Myrtle is here as well. So thank you for joining, and I'm glad that you like my card. So just going to add in a couple of the little enamel dots around the card front, just to add a little extra pretty. And that's all there is to it. So let me get the inside of the card pulled out here. I decided that I'm going to stamp, and I think I forgot the flower center, which I will stick that on a block really quickly as I'm talking here. So do that, and we should be good to go. And I decided that I was going to do Sahara Sand for the flower colors, which I know is a little odd. Well, you can have brown flowers. Hopefully they're not totally dead flowers, but I'm going with the brown flowers because it matches my card base, which is what I did on my original card, or matches my stamping color. So that was what I did on my original card, is I used Flirty Flamingo. And if I had the Magenta Madness ink, I would definitely be using that as my color for my flowers, but unfortunately we haven't been able to order it yet, so you're getting Sahara Sand flowers instead. So doing a little stamping with Daffodil Delight for the flower centers, and then Granny Apple Green, we're going to add in a couple little leaves. So, well, thank you. I appreciate that, Karen. So Lynette, I gave you a little tip about stamping with this set at the beginning of the video. So if you haven't had a chance and didn't see that part of it, definitely go check it out, because it makes stamping the card fronts much, much easier. So go check it out. If you know, at the end of this, when I post it, go check out the replay so you can see that. So, all right, so we've got the flower stamp for the inside of the card, and just going to do a little quick adhering, and then we will be all done. So, all right, and let me know if you have questions. Again, all the details will be posted on my blog tomorrow, and I'll post a link to the blog post in the video once the blog post is up and going. So you can refer back to that if you have questions about the cardstock cuts or the colors that I used or anything like that. You'll be able to see all that out on my blog tomorrow. Going to do a quick little crease here on the card base with the bone folder, and we should be good to go. So again, we've got the one that I made in the video today with the Sahara Sand, Magenta Madness, Granny Apple Green, and Whisper White. And then this one was Whisper White, thick Whisper White card base. Daffodil Delight for the die cut, Whisper White for the other die cut, Granny Apple Green for the leaves, and then I used Flirty Flamingo for the stamping of the flowers and the sentiment. So that's it. So like I said, it's super easy to use once you figure out the trick of how to get the card front stamped without ruining a whole pile of cardstock. So get out your Stamparatus, give it a try. Hope that you love this stamp set. Again, it'll be available from Stampin' Up! Starting on June 3rd. Let me know if you have questions on anything. I'm always happy to help. Have a great rest of your Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. And I'll plan to be back next week Friday on YouTube around 2 o'clock Eastern Time. And I'll be back next week Tuesday on my Facebook channel at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. So have a wonderful weekend, and we will chat soon.